Hi everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing Decluttering at the Speed of Life by Dana K. White. She's the creator of a blog called A Slob Comes Clean. Now, this book, full disclosure, I listened to it on tape on the way to work and I forgot everything. It's been a year since I listened to the book on tape, and when I picked this up at the library for the August book of the month, it was actually really helpful because I don't know why, I think I retain more when I read more than when I listen. I think I'm a visual learner more than an auditory learner. So let's get into it. Here's her strategies, and I'll tell you whether I agree with them or not. So she recommends asking two questions. And the two questions are, if I needed this item, where would I look for it? And then if you're decluttering that item, you take it to the place where you would look for it. And the second question is, if I needed this item, would it occur to me that I already had one? So she asks you to ask two questions. She recommends decluttering based on visibility. So you walk into the front door, the first thing you're going to see in my case is the dining room and the sitting room. And as you keep moving to the back of the house, you'll come to more living spaces as opposed to, in my opinion, show places. So I think that's a great idea. The next thing that she discusses is she goes room by room, starting with the most visible, which is living spaces that you, like your living room, family room, game room. In Canada, we used to call it a rec room. And then the kitchen, which is semi-public, because if you throw a party, everybody ends up gathering around the kitchen island. Then bedrooms, then closets, and then storage areas. So in my case, it would be a garage, because I don't really believe in storage areas. If you need a storage area, you just have too much stuff, except for the pantries. Pantries are a blessing. And if you look at like some real estate advice, they say the big trend that buyers are looking for is a walk-in pantry. So if you have a walk-in pantry, good for you. Okay, so that's basically it. She's a really entertaining writer. Like, she'll make up words like Procrasti-clutter. And Procasti-clutter are things like this. I'm guilty of this. We share our laundry responsibility, so I will wash, dry, and put away. Folding is my husband's responsibility because he's really fast. And before the pandemic, when life was more predictable and I got so much joy out of like Marie Kondo folded t-shirts, I would refold the clothes. But now, after the pandemic, or during the pandemic where life is uncertain, I'm just glad laundry's in the drawer. Like, my expectations are very low right now. Procrasti-clutter in our case is I do something passive aggressive, and this is going to be our secret. You cannot tell him. I put all the laundry from the dryer in baskets in his office, so he cannot avoid seeing it. And when his life gets stressful enough, he'll fold laundry to relieve stress, and it's our secret. Why mess with a good thing? So that's my idea of Procasti-clutter. So she has a 5-step process for decluttering. So you start with easy stuff like pick up things, and then the declutter. She calls this like, there's an onion in your sitting room, take it to the pantry. There's a baseball hat in your bedroom, take it to the closet. Then she says attack Procasti-clutter, which is what I just described. Then she says learn the container concept. I think this is the most important and valuable thing in the book, and I agree with the container concept. If you have a certain amount of room for spoons, that's your room for spoons. That's it. If you stay with me during these next few months and subscribe, you're gonna find out a reasonably substantial home renovation we're going to do, because I'll give you a spoiler alert. I don't believe in buying more things to use something. So the substantial renovation I'm referring to in our house is our dishwasher is too big. Our container is too big. I have done a count. We have 18 coffee mugs. Pre-pandemic, we were running the dishwasher once every 10 days. During the pandemic, we're going through the dishwasher every 4 days, but it's not an equal cycle. So we run out of coffee mugs, but there's tons of room in the lower rack for plates and silverware. And we run out of forks too. So what ends up happening is I will go into the dishwasher and have to hand wash a coffee mug so I can get ready for work. So you can see how annoying this is. So stay tuned, because you're about to see how we get a smaller container, and let's see if this strategy works. I'll do a whole video about it. Now let's talk about the criticism. This is the perfect book for me a year ago. I read it on the drive to work. I think I read it in like a week, or listened to it in a week. The problem was it was very forgettable. And now because I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember how she went and had a wrought iron bathtub sitting in her backyard, which is lucky that she's in Texas. And then her husband and a few men had to take it to the dump, and then one of them damaged his truck. So that is like this future fantasy self that's gonna have a clawfoot bathtub and long romantic soaks in them. Never happened. She had to take it to the dump. So when I was reading the book, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. So maybe when I was listening to her, she was rather forgettable and the writing was forgettable. But when I actually read it, I find some value. Here's my criticism. A year later, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How are you supposed to declutter based on visibility? Nobody has been in our house in 6 months. People have dropped food off for us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. When our dog had surgery, people have, given gifts, but everybody stands at the door with a mask and gives us a gift or food or, something like that. But no one has been in our house. So how are you supposed to declutter based on visibility? That's my biggest complaint about this book. I really like a few more things. She actually defines what is decluttering. Decluttering is not cleaning. Every 2 weeks before the pandemic, I had a cleaning person that would come in, and she's lovely, and she's 20 something and has full of energy, and my dog has a huge crush on her because she's very pretty. Every night before she comes over, I pick up the house and utter death threats to my husband. And I say, if I find one thing in the kitchen sink, it is over. I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. And my mother and I will call each other, and she'll say, what are you doing? And just to be, quick, I'll say, I'm cleaning. And she'll say, why are you cleaning before Alex gets there? And the answer is this. If you don't pick up the house properly, I am taking valuable minutes away from her where things could get clean. So instead of her focusing on the stainless steel appliances being degreased and removing fingerprints, instead of her focusing on the hardwood floors, she's picking up stuff, and that's not okay. She's there to help me, and I'm there to help her. So decluttering is not cleaning. So she's very clear about that. And then she defines clutter. She says, anything I can't keep under control. I agree with her. That is a really good definition of clutter. I've heard, I believe it was Peter Walsh, say that clutter is anything that stands between you and what you want to achieve. Then she defines something as a clutter threshold. This is really important, and she does mention it in the book, but I wish she would reiterate a concept over and over because this is so important. A lot of marriages, I suspect, are on the fritz for this reason. During the pandemic, we're just with our partners more, and there have been fights. I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty. So I think couples need to match up with someone similar to their clutter threshold. And I think that if you and your partner don't have similar clutter thresholds, God help you. If you come home and find a baseball hat in the fruit bowl and you lose your mind and that person's like, I don't see what the problem is, it's a baseball hat, calm down, like just calm down. That's going to be problematic. So this is how she defines the clutter threshold: the point at which stuff becomes clutter. Simple, but I wish she would stress that more, and I wish that she had stressed that more as in examples for each room. If you go to the bedroom and find a wet towel on your bed, for me, that's my clutter threshold. That's not okay. That means an uncomfortable sleep. Why was the wet towel even on the bed? Like, that's my threshold. And the sad thing is, it took me 40 years to find out that my clutter threshold is very low. Okay, just one more thing about the pandemic before we wrap up. We have socially distanced walks, and I can't participate in them because I work outside the home. But there's one night where I make an effort to clear the schedule so I can take part in it. And one mother complained that, stuff's everywhere. Stuff is everywhere. And I told her, you're not alone. And comment below if you agree with me. We are not seeing our numbers come down drastically. They seem to be plateauing with the ever so slightest downward slope of a curve. So our numbers are not coming down. And I don't have children, but obviously everybody else does. They had a vote. Do they want in-person classroom time with the children, or do they want virtual learning? And they took a vote, and I think the parents actually voted for in-classroom. But there was some sort of issue with the teachers threatening, I think they would have lost 12% of their teaching body if it went to that. And so they decided to do virtual learning. So a lot of parents are now scrambling to convert their houses into homeschooling. One of the best ideas I've heard about homeschooling is they've created each room for a subject. And so the children are young, like middle schoolers maybe. So social studies is the dining room, math is the living room. So I think kids get that break where they don't feel like they're chained to the desk and a chair. So if you're feeling like things are out of control, do not fret because we're all feeling the same way. I think this is a perfect book for right now. And here's my suggestion. I'm going to do another video about this. My suggestion is this. Instead of you going crazy and doing a garage sale, walk around with a sticker and walk through your front door and just tell yourself, does that really need to be there? And stay tuned and let's find out if I can do that, if I can play a game with the visibility rule and the minimalist 30-day challenge. So day 1, you declutter one thing. By day 30, you've decluttered 30 things on that day, but the grand total is over 400 items. So see if that works. That's my only complaint about this book, is that she's asking you to start with visibility as what a guest would see. And I'm sorry, most of us aren't allowed to have guests right now. So good luck with your decluttering. Stay safe during this very uncertain time. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.